Hey there, what basic tools do I use for my bag making sewing business? And I'll show you in a minute. They're pretty simple, they're basic, and they hopefully don't cost a lot of money. Hey guys, it's Teresa Kulos Beaumont from 360 Handmade Bags, and this is my second video on my new YouTube channel. And I am hoping to show you just exactly what I use for kind of basic tools that I use to make my handmade bags and for my sewing. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. And the simpler the better is how I look at it. So stay tuned and I will show you what I use. Okay, we're back at my desk, and I just want to give you a quick overview of what some of the tools, I've got them all stacked up here and all lined up, that I use in my bag making business. That's just water, nothing else. It's in there. First of all, up above is all of my personal things that I like to have with me at all times. That's my retirement motto. Every day is Saturday. And I never have to worry about Sunday and having to think about having to go to work on a Monday, because every day for me is a Saturday and I never remember what day of the week it is. But these are all my personal things up on my display shelf here. And I have, this is the best thing that I put on my wall here, is this pegboard system. I got it from Amazon. And I think I bought 3 sets of pegboards. I don't have 2 of the squares on. I'm very limited in my wall space here in my sewing room. And so I have a full wall of windows, a full wall of a mirrored closet, and I really don't have a lot of space on the wall. So this pegboard, and I don't have a lot of table space, so this pegboard is amazing. And of course, I drive Jim crazy because I'm constantly reorganizing and rearranging my sewing room. And thank God for that pegboard, because I can move my little cups and hooks and everything off of it. So number one for sewing is scissors. Now I have a brand new neck holder for my phone, because that's all I'm using to record my videos. So if it moves, I apologize. So these are my scissors. It's very important to have your scissors. I have these ones here. So I'm apologize if I move, but this is all it's all new to me. All right, so the most important scissors I have are my fabric scissors. And I don't use these for anything else other than to cut fabric interfacing my faux leathers. I don't use them for anything else. I have a pair of cheap utility scissors. I probably got them at the dollar store. But anyways, these I use for, cutting zipper tape, for cutting anything that's like tape, thick fabric, or things that aren't meant for my fabric scissors. Like when I print off a PDF pattern on my printer, I laminate each page, and then I use these scissors to cut out each of the pattern pieces. So these are my utility scissors. These are my fabric scissors. These ones happen to be Kai's. There's the brand name right there. I got these at Len's Mills in Barrie, Ontario. And these are just my utility scissors. I do have a scissor sharpener. I didn't bring it on the table, but I'll have to show that after. Then I have these Fiskars spring assist scissors. They do lock. I had these in my card making day. Can't lock them because I never lock them usually. But these are really, really great because they have a nice sharp point and they're very small, but I can get into small little corners with these, and I can just use the tips to clip. Now I have pinking shears because every sewist has pair of pinking shears. I rarely use these pinking shears. They're great for curves, so that you don't have to snip into curves to make turning your curves, to make the turning curves a little easier. But I don't use my pinking shears as often as maybe I should. I guess maybe I just don't have a need to use them as much. And then also I have my rotary cutter. I got this at Lens Mills as well, I believe. I do use the titanium blades. These are 45 mil. It's probably the only metric you're going to hear coming from me, even though I'm Canadian. I still do everything in feet and inches. So this is my rotary cutter. Right now it's not open. So now when I open it and click the lock, it's exposed and the blades are very sharp. But I do use the titanium blades, and they are very, very sharp. I don't know when I changed this blade last, because I don't have to change the blades as often as I thought that I might have. So I have a ton of these spare blades and I don't change them as much. So that's my rotary cutter. Before I forget, you will see my well-used mat, my cutting mat. It is self-healing, so I do a lot of cutting on that. And then over on my second table, which is my IKEA desk, I have another one on there, so that when I have something large to lay out, like a large fabric, or I also do alterations, so when I have pants to lay out, I can lay them all out together. This is my, so now this might be a little pricey, but this is my next best tool that I got. It is from Amazon, and this is a 24-inch deep by 47-inch wide height adjustable table. So this one, it has 3 memory spots on it. It has an up or low depending on how high you want it to go. I have it adjusted so that it's in line with this other desk. Now I'm going to pull it out because it will hit some of those items. But I have 3 memory spots here. So the first one I have set as my cutting height, because I am 5'7", so I need something tall. The second level is right here at desk level. And the third level is if I put a sewing machine and I want the height lower. So I'm just going to show you. Don't mind my mess underneath, but there we go. Now everything's falling. It has gone down to the desk level, or the lower level. I'm going to put it back up to desk level, and it will go up to a higher level, but I have stuff here and I don't want it to all fall and create quite a crash. But my cutting mat, this is a 36 by 24-inch cutting mat that I got on Amazon as well. So those are my scissors that I use, and I predominantly use my utility scissors and of course my good fabric scissors. And then my pinking shears I don't use as much. So I'm going to put those over to the side. My next important tool is my seam ripper. This is Jack the Seam Ripper. We are close personal friends, and anyone who is a sewer or a sewist, seamstress, what have you, this is your close personal friend. So Jack the Seam Ripper, that's my buddy, and we're very good friends. The next is my double-sided tape. Who knew that double-sided tape would become, like when I learned to sew in home ec, of course, it didn't exist back then in the 70s. But double-sided tape is great. I use a 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch. So I get the 1/4 inch from Dollar Tree, and it's very cheap, and I stock up on about 24 packs at a rolls at a time. And then my 1/8 inch I get from Amazon, and I think I can get 4 or 6 rolls at a time. I go through this a lot. This is great for putting down across your zipper tape and then putting the fabric on top so that you don't have to use clips or pins. And incidentally, I do not use pins for bag making, because if you put pins in faux leather or anything like that, it will leave a mark and a hole. So I do use clips, and I'll show you those. So that's my double-sided tape. That is a game changer for, instead of having to baste or to pin, double-sided tape is your best friend. This is called Fray Check. Didn't know it existed. This one's almost empty. I do have a new one that's unscented because this one is scented. So this is called Fray Check. I think it's Dritz makes it. And so if you have a raw edge, like I do use canvases, cotton canvases, and they fray. And this is great to run along the edge, and it dries and it helps prevent fraying. This is your next best friend, a lighter. I use polyester thread in my sewing, so it all depends. I use Gutermann Sewzall thread for linings and that, and it's polyester glide thread. I also have some Tech 75 thread as well, but your lighter is your best friend as well, because you can just take that, click the flame onto it, and it'll melt the ends and seal your ends. Plus, when you have your zipper tape, and you've cut your zipper tape, you can take the lighter and melt the ends of your zipper tape so they don't fray. This is a thread snip, and I have a magnet on each of my sewing machines, and these particular ones I got on Amazon. They were a pack of 2, and I just as soon as I finished using them to snip the top and bobbin thread, I just stick this on the magnet, and it's ready to go for the next time I use it. So these thread snips, I personally find, are what works for me. I do have an air erase marker for marking my patterns on my fabrics, or it's either air erase or friction. I personally don't like it as much. I stick to a gel pen and make sure I use this on the wrong side of the fabric. And then I also, if you can't see the gel pen, then I do use just a regular, actually this is one of my art pencils. It's just an H size graphite pencil. I did, however, get new. I haven't used it as much. This one's not sharpened, but I did get this from JT Outdoor Fabrics in Barrie, Ontario. And this is a white, this is a great marking pencil as well. Like I said, this one's not sharpened. I do have one sharpened. I just can't see it at the moment. And this actually is really, really great for dark fabrics as well. I also, for turning tools for your corners, this is a turning tool. Well, actually, this came from my We Are Memory Keepers cutting mat board, and I just took that out because this is a great turning tool for running down the edge of your seams to help open them up, and then this for poking out your corners. And then I have an old knitting needle that used to have a tip, but it got broken, and I find that it's better that I have the broken tip because it is dull and it won't go through my corners and my fabric. So these are 2 great turning tools that I use. Now, this is a seam guide. So sometimes you want to make sure that you're getting the right 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch or 3/8 inch seam allowance. And 3/8 inch seam allowance is 1 centimeter approximately. This does have magnets, so it will magnetize onto your needle plate on your sewing machine, and then your fabric will go through the machine and stay against this seam guide, and you will have a consistent seam allowance. Now, if you have heavy, thick seams, bulky seams, like you would in bag making, it's sometimes your machine will have a hard time going over the hump and then coming back down again, and you can get skip stitches or jams or whatever. So this is called a hump jumper, and it has a thin side and a thicker side. And you put that, say, at the back in behind your presser foot on your needle, your sewing machine, or in front, depending on the height that you need. And that will help your presser foot and needle get over the hump, which is why it's called a hump jumper. If you don't have one, you know what? You don't have to go spend the money, because grab a we all have needle cases. So grab one of these and use that, or put two together, two empty ones, tape them together or whatever, and then stick it along the side of your presser foot and underneath it, and it will give you that height that you need to get over the hump. And also, if you have a piece of fabric, oh my goodness, I can't even think, a fabric, oh my God. If you have spare fabric that you're not needing and it's a remnant from something you've made, good grief, I can't even think of my words, just fold it up and make something thick to get over the hump as well. So those are some of those things. Rulers. So here are my rulers that I use. I've got a glare from my window. I use this, I have this 1.5 inch ruler that I use all the time. Now I got these rulers in particular at Len's Mills and Barrie. I like these. I did have quilters rulers, but I didn't like all the yellow markings and all of that. I like this because it's plain, it's simple, I can see my inch marks. This one is a 1.5 inch depth by 12.5 inches wide. I use this one a lot. I also use this one quite a lot. This one is a 12 inch wide and a 6 inch deep. So I use that a lot for small things I need to cut with my rotary cutter. This one is the same as that other one, although this one is 24 inches wide by 6. This is my newest one that I just got. It's 16.5 by 16.5 for something that's bigger and wider than 6 inches. So this is a great one. I don't use it as often, but I have it. I have it as well. Clips. So I did mention that I do not use pins when I'm sewing for faux leather. So I do use, these are different kinds of clips that you can use. Now these are pretty fancy. They're really, I ordered these from somebody's website, but these are really, you know, nice rainbow clips. But guess what, guys? These are just hair clips. You can go to Walmart or the pharmacy or whatever and just get ordinary hair clips. And these really hold your fabrics together without using pins, especially faux leathers, and they don't leave any marks. So those are just hair clips. These are what I use the most. So this is the type of clip, they're called Wonder Clips. These are probably a cheaper, well, they are a cheaper version that I got on Amazon. So these are little clips. They're very, very strong. You got to watch it because the plastic does get fatigue in it quite fast, and they do break and will go flying off in your face if you're not careful. But I use these a lot. The only thing with these clips is, here's a piece of faux leather in eggplant color. They do leave a mark in your vinyl that will hopefully come out. So you've got to be very careful with these clips because they have little teeth kind of here on both sides, little bumps that are like little teeth, and they do leave these marks. So just be careful that you don't leave these in for too long. Don't glue your pieces and then clip them and leave the clips in for too long, because they will leave the marks and the marks will stay. And then the other type of clips that I have, they are like these smaller Wonder Clips, but these are the larger ones. I'll get a color one. It's a little easier to see. So there's a longer one. And I just got these on Amazon, like these clips as well, the Wonder Clips. So these ones are longer, and if you have to get further down to hold the your fabrics and your thicker seams is what these are for, to hold these together. The containers I use are pretty simple. They're just they're like little Ziploc containers, but they're not Ziploc. I got these, they're a set of 4. I got these, or maybe they're a set of 2 and I got 2 of them, but I got them from the Dollar Tree. And they're perfect for holding my clips. And then I keep an empty one, and I keep the empty one beside my sewing machine so that as I'm taking the clips off the fabric, then I can just throw them into my tub as I'm sewing, and then when I'm done, then I'll just dump them back in. So those are my clips that I use. All right, now we're going to get into some little bit more nitty-gritty equipment. And this is stuff that you don't need to get all at the same time. So here is rivets, because in bag making you will come across needing rivets, which help to hold your straps together and that. So this is just a container I have with all different kinds of rivets. Like here's a rose gold one, and I have different colors depending on what color hardware I'm using. So there's the cap with the post, and then there's the top part that goes onto the post, and then you rivet it together. So I've got, rose gold, antique brass, I have gunmetal, and I have some really super long ones. They'll have a longer post as well. So these are the rivets that help put your straps together. Plus they also add a really nice design element and a finishing element to your bag. So there's a couple of ways of attaching the rivets. The one that I first started out with was this little anvil. Well, this was the first hole punch. So you had to make sure that you had a solid surface, and you put your fabric down. I'm not going to bang it because it's going to make a lot of noise. And then I guess I am. And you bang a hole, and it probably didn't make it because it wasn't that strong. But anyhow, if I had done it a bit better, you would see that there would be a hole there, because this is a manual hole punch, and with my hammer and that. So when you're installing the rivets, you would have a bottom. You put your anvil on the bottom. You put your fabric, your rivet, one rivet, whether it's the one that's the post or the one that's the cap, stick it up through the hole, put the cap or the post on, and then you take this piece and put it on top, and then you hammer it. Well, that took too long for me to do, and I just don't have the strength as far as hammering, and it was loud. So I bought it's a hole punch that has different sizes, and it turns, but it's very hard to turn, and it clicks into place. But you can see that I've already used it, and there's different sizes, and this is very hard. I find it very hard to turn. And you just squeeze, you just take your fabric. This is faux leather, by the way. It is a beige Mora faux leather from Emmeline Bags. And you just take it and click it, and I give it a bit of a turn, and there's your hole. So there's your hole. I didn't squeeze it hard enough, but anyhow, there's your hole from your hole punch. I personally find this hard. It's too wide, even though it's not stiff. It's too wide for my hand, and I don't have the grip strength anymore to squeeze that. So I also I was watching other YouTube bag makers, and they have what's called a Japanese hole press. So this is good, because when you use this particular hole puncher, sometimes it's hard to get this little anvil into a tight space inside your bag. So this is actually pretty good, because it's just a one hole at a time, and it pushes in. I don't want to do it on my hand, but what happens is it's just, let me keep this straight. You just push it a couple of times, and it's a Japanese hole punch, and there it makes your hole. Now it does come with different size bits, I guess they're called, with different size holes. I use this one because this is the one that I use predominantly for my my rivets. I think maybe there might be even a smaller one. Maybe, I'm not sure. I have to check. But I also make sure, from the dollar store, I have one of these little little craft mats, so that I don't damage my my good cutting mat with these little, because you can see there's all these little holes because I've used it. But it goes through. This is really cool because of the fact that as you can see, it goes down pushes down and comes back up. And it doesn't take a lot of strength to punch a hole into it. So I find this a lot easier for me to use, and I got this on Amazon, and I find it a lot easier for me to use, and I can get into tight corners inside a bag, or if I'm right up against a rivet, then I'm not going to squish a rivet or anything like that. I'm going to, you know, if I'm up in a tight spot, this gets in there closer. So that's doing rivets and making rivets. And then another thing that I also use is Gorilla Tape, duct tape. This is what I go through a lot of this stuff. And what I use this for is when I have my own bag tags, metal bag tags that I had made, and they have their prongs, just like you would use for when I do my magnetic snaps. They have the prongs on the back. So what I do is when I go to do to install my metal bag tag, I can't talk today. So when I go to install my metal bag tag, I take the back washer, and it'll fit into these two end ones when it's installed in the fabric. So what I do is I'll center the washer onto the fabric. Now I'm doing this, trying to see this through my camera, and I make a line because I know it'll go into the second last spot on either side. And then I take my handy dandy Jack the Seam Ripper. But first, before I take Jack the Seam Ripper, I will take a piece of duct tape. This is almost gone. Actually, I cut, and I take my utility scissors and I'll cut two pieces. All right, I'll cut two pieces, and I use my utility scissors. So what I will do is on the back, hopefully I've lined that up the right way where my marks are. I'm trying to see them, and I didn't even get it. Let me just do this off camera so that I can make sure I get it exactly where I want. All right, so I've got the duct tape there. So what I do is then I take my seam ripper, and where the marks are, I just make I'm very careful, and I just make a quick little cut where the seam ripper is. Then I pop my bag tag, into the fabric. And then I take where's my little, there it is. So what happens is the duct tape helps to secure it into place, and it helps to stabilize this fabric because this is pretty floppy, and then it just gives it that bit of stabilization so that if there's any amount of pulling on the bag, it will this will help support it and stabilize it. And I do the same method for when I do my magnetic snaps as well. They're just not as big, but there's a lot of pulling and a lot of tension put on magnetic snaps, and it's the same type of prong installation. And I use duct tape or Gorilla Tape. And so what happens then, I take my washer and I put it on the back. See, I could have, if I'd been able to see better, I could have put this duct tape a little bit better, centered it, and then I push the prongs in. I make sure that however it's sitting on the bag, that it's straight and it's not off kilter. On here, it's not going to be straight because it's just a scrap piece of faux leather. And then I take my other piece of duct tape or Gorilla Tape and I put it across the back of that washer. Do it a little better than this, if I can see. Put it across the back of that washer, and then what it does is, because the washer and the prongs are metal, then what this duct tape does is it protects that against it rubbing on any other fabric. So that's how I install my bag tag. I had these made. You don't have to do this. It's just something I wanted to do. This is my old logo one of my many versions of my logo, and I'll be using these until they run out. But anyhow, I had these made on Alibaba or AliExpress, and to me it just gives that elevation of a little bit more class to your bags. But you don't have to do this. I started off by printing my own, from my inkjet printer, my own labels onto iron-on fabric, like an iron-on fabric, and made labels and stitched them onto my bags at first. The second generation of my bag tag is these ones. These are my faux leather ones. This is still my old logo, and I have about 25 of these left. I get these made. These are just faux leather, and I affix them onto my bag with double-sided tape, and then I stitch around the outer edge onto my bag when I have it affixed onto my bag and centered. But these ones, these faux leather ones, I got from the Spotted Zebra on Etsy, and Thera is wonderful to deal with. You send her your logo, she'll come up with, you tell her what size, and she will make these labels for you. And she's in Alberta. So that's my focus also, is to support Canadian vendors for their supplies as much as I can. You know, you can only do so much, but as much as I can, I will support Canadian vendors. One of the fabric vendors I get is Emmeline Bags in Alberta. Also a fabulous one is Sam Fabric Creations in Quebec. So Louise Villeneuve is Sam Fabric Creations, and she has amazing vinyls, faux leathers, canvases, and all bag making supplies. It's amazing. So this is one of the bag tags I use. And if I'm doing a mass production of, say, wallets for a vendor market, then I will use these. I'll sew these in. Now, this is something that's relatively new. I did not get these from a vendor in Canada. I couldn't find one on Etsy, but these are from a vendor on Etsy in the UK. So these are made in Canada labels, and I will sew one of these into every single one of my bags, as long as I remember. These three items are things you don't have to have right away. These are things that I've been doing this now for 2.5 years, bag making. So these are things that I do now, and you know, but I didn't at first. So it's not something you have to do and that you have to have. Oh, and one of the things I forgot to show you when we were talking about rivets is I do have a rivet press. So if we have, let's just take my rivets and I'm just going to grab, oops, I got to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's a rivet that's a cap, and here's one that's a post. They're both gunmetal. And I already have a hole in my faux fabric, so I'm going to say put the post one in the hole, pop it through, and then I'm going to put the cap on it. Now usually these are going to be thicker, but you can see how loose that is. It's not going to stay, this cap it might have snapped on, but it's not solidified on there. So there's my anvil, and it's got a curve that the button or the cap of your rivet will fit in. And then there's another concave spot in there. And then I just press down. This is the best thing. My battery's dying and I'm going to have to go. So you just press that on there. And this is a game changer. This rivet press is a game changer. So I didn't have thick enough material, but it will go on. Anyhow, I'm going to run because my battery on my phone is dying. I'm just pressing that a little bit more. But these are the basic tools that I use, or a lot of the tools I use. So anyhow, guys, thanks for joining me again, and the next time I see you, I am going to show you my sewing machines and talk about the rabbit hole I went down looking for the perfect sewing machine for bag making, and you won't believe what I paid for that sewing machine. All right, guys, take care. That's upside down, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.